श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम्। क्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्ये सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विजयभवरोगिणां निधे सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्ते नमः। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नमो धर्माय महते नमः कृष्णाय वेदसे ब्राह्मणेभ्यो नमस्तुभ्यः नमस्कृत्यां धर्मान् वक्ष्यामि शाश्वताम्। नमो भगवते व्यासाय तस्मै व्यासाय मदद्वेषसे यस्य प्रसादात् वक्ष्यामि नारायणकथामिमाम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्. So previously, at the end of 15th day's battle, Drona was killed, and then 2 days later, and Sanjay returns, and then he narrates everything about Drona Parva, what we looked at in the Drona Parva, and then Sanjay again returns at the end of 17th day, and then at that time he narrates, he informs Dhritarashtra about death of Dushyasana and Karna, along with many other warriors. And Dushyasana, hearing the death of Karna, he swoons away, he faints, and he loses his consciousness. And then Vidura and everybody sprinkle water, and king regains his consciousness, and then he looks around, and all the Kuru ladies were there crying, seeing the state of the king. He becomes quiet, and then gradually blames Duryodhana for all the things that's happening. And then he takes a moment, and then king asks him, so Dhritarashtra Vaishampayana, he was very much with his heart agitated at that time. He addresses Sanjaya. He says that through the evil policy of my son, who did not have any foresight, Karna has been killed. This information, what you're telling me, is cutting through my core in my heart. It's piercing, it's cutting through my heart. So I am desiring to cross this sea of grief. So remove my doubts. Therefore, tell me who are all still alive and who are dead among the Kurus and Pandavas. So Dhritarashtra effectively now trying to see who effectively remains on both sides and trying to see is there any chance of winning this battle still, even after Karna's death. And then Sanjaya says that Sanjaya responds to that Korean who is alive, who is dead. He on both sides he starts responding. He says that the one with great prowess who was invincible in the battlefield, Bhishma, who is son of Shantanu, he has been having killed large number of Srinjayas and Panchalas. He has been killed. He has been slain after 10 days of battle. And then mighty and invincible bowman Drona of golden chariot, having slaughtered Panchala division in the battle, he has been killed as well. And then having slaughtered half of what remained after that carnage by Bhishma and Drona, Surya's son Karna has also been killed. So again, if we keep losing how many count of who are all killed in this Bhishma Parva and Drona Parva, now Sanjay kind of recaps all that key warriors and famous warriors who've been killed or who's battled and survived. He reminds us that through here in these 2 chapters we look at that. So Sanjay says that so Bhishma, Drona, Karna have been killed, and then the one who is endued with great strength, the prince Vivingsati, he has been killed. Having killed hundreds of Anartha warriors. Anartha warriors is again Bhoja troops. He has also been killed. Vivingsati has been killed, and your heroic son Vikarna, who was deprived of his horses and weapons, he still stood facing his enemy, remembering the duties of the Kshatriya. At that time, remembering all the many foul wrongs inflicted upon Vikarna by Duryodhana, and also bearing in his own mind um, his own woe. Bhima, at that time, remembering also his own woe, he killed him in that battle. So Vikarna has been killed. And then uh, the great Binda and Arvinda, the two princes of Avanti, who achieving great difficult achievements in the battlefield, they also have gone to Yama's place. And then that hero who under whom 10 kingdoms were there, and he's having Sindhu for among those main chief kingdom, who was always obedient to you, that Jayadratha of mighty energy. Arjuna has killed him after defeating 11 Akshoni of troops with sharp arrows. So Arjuna killed Jayadratha. And then the one with great activity and incapable of being easily defeated in the battle, son of Duryodhana, who was always obedient to his father's commands, he has been killed by Subhadra's son, that is Abhimanyu. And then that we saw when Abhimanyu went to the battle on the 13th day, the battle. And then uh, the brave son of Dushasana, uh, who is having again mighty arms and fierce in battle, he has been dispatched to Yama's place by Draupadi's sons, who exerted again great prowess while in killing Dushasana's son. Again, Dushasana's son, you remember, he is the one who finally killed Abhimanyu. And then the ruler of Kiratas and the other dwellers of lowland on the sea coast, they were much respected dear friend of Indra himself, the virtuous King Bhagadatta, who always devoted to Kshatriya duties. They has been dispatched to Yama's place by Arjuna with great strength. Bhagadatta has been killed by Arjuna. Then the kinsman of the Kauravas, the son of Somadatta, the brave, celebrated Bhurishrava, he has been killed in the battle. Again, Bhurishrava has been killed by Satyaki in the battlefield. And then Ambasta, Ambasta king Shrutayus, who is again one of the foremost among the Kshatriyas, who used to move in that battlefield fearlessly, he's been killed by Arjuna. And then your son Dushyasana, who was accomplished in the arms and was invincible in the battlefield, was always um, wrathful, was always angry. He has been killed by Bhima. And then Sudakshina, who had many thousand wonderful elephants, has been killed by Arjuna. The ruler of Kosalas, having killed many hundred enemies, himself has been dispatched to Yama's place by Abhimanyu. With his exerting himself with great prowess, Abhimanyu killed him. And then, having fought many thousand enemies with mighty Rathis, Bhima himself, and Bhima himself, Chitrasena, was killed by Bhima. And then the younger brother of Madra ruler, Shalya's younger brother, who has been there in that battlefield, he has been killed, who was very handsome, armed with weapons, sword and shield, who has been killed by Subhadra's son Abhimanyu. And the one who was equal to Karna himself in the battlefield, Karna's son Vrishasena, who was accomplished in the great arms and he was having the great energy, steady in prowess. He's been in front of Karna, he's been dispatched to Yama's place by Dhananjaya, Arjuna. And then again, Arjuna remembered slaughter of Abhimanyu while killing Karna's son in front of Karna. And then the King Shrutayus, who was always displayed very deep-rooted hatred towards Pandavas, he has been killed by Arjuna. Again, who reminded him before killing Shrutayus, he reminded him the hatred he possessed towards Pandavas. And then Shalya's son Rukmarata has been killed by Sahadeva in the battlefield, who happened to be his brother because of the maternal uncle's brother. So he was in a kind of brother to him. So he was been killed by Sahadeva. Rukmarata has been killed. King Bhagirath, Brahakshetra, who was the ruler of Kaikeyas, and then they have been killed. And then Bhagadatta's son, who was possessed with great wisdom and great strength, has been killed by Nakula. And then Sanjay says that your grandfather, Balika, was of great might and prowess, has been with all his followers, has been killed by Bhima. And then Jayasena, son of Jarasandha, the prince of Magadha, has been in the battle killed by Abhimanyu. And then Vaishampayana says, listening to all this from Sanjaya, uh, Sanjaya continues, he says that uh, your son Durmukha and also other son Dushraha, and whom always obedient to Duryodhana, they have been killed in the battlefield by Bhima with his mace. And then Durmarshana, Durvisaha, the great Karya, Rati, Durjaya, who all achieved great feats in that battlefield, have gone to Yama's place. And the two brothers of Kalinga, and the two brothers Kalinga and Vrishaka, also Duryodhana's brothers, they also has been sent to Yama's place. And your counselor Vrishavarman of Suta Varna, Suta class, he has displaying great energy, who has been killed, and then also King Paurava, who had mighty 10,000 who had was having strength of 10,000 elephants with all his followers, has been killed by Pandu's son Arjuna. And then Vasati is remembering 2000, who all great releasers of arrows and stars in the battlefield, as also Surasena, with great prowess, has been killed in the battlefield. The Abhishas, who are clad in mail, capable of smiting effectively in the fierce battle, and also Shibis, those great Ratis, and the Kalingas, all have been killed. And the other heroes, the Narayana Gopas, the Gopalakas from the Yadava troops, they who live in the Goloka, they were also they were normally exceedingly wrathful. They never retreated in the battlefield. They have all been killed by Arjuna in the battlefield. And then many thousand Shnenis, Samshaptakas, that is Trigarta warriors and others who sworn to kill Arjuna, them approaching Arjuna have all went to been sent to Yama's place. And then your two brother-in-laws, Princess Vrishaka and Achala, who had great prowess, uh, they have been killed by Arjuna. And then King Shalva of great arms, fierce deeds, who is a great bowman in both name and feat, and he has been killed by Bhima. Bhogavat Vrishanta, fighting together in the battlefield, exerting themselves, they've been sent to Yama's place. And also, great Ratis Kshemadruti, who has been killed by Bhima with his mace, and also great bowman King Jalasandha, uh, who caused immense carnage among Pandava troops, has been killed by Satyaki. And then the prince of Rakshasas, Alayudha, who had a vehicle dragged by the asses, the monster-shaped asses. He has been dispatched to Yama's place by Gadotkaja in that battlefield. And then uh, and then uh, Karna of Suta class, and then and all the great Ratis who were his brothers, and the Kaikeyas, the Malavas, Madrakas, Dravidas of fierce prowess, yeah, Yodayas, Lalityas, Kshudrakas, Ushinaras, Undikeras, Savitriputras, Easterners, Northerners, Westerners, Southerners, all have been killed by Savisachi. And then large bands of foot soldiers and myriad of horses, large number of rathis, many huge elephants have been killed. Many heroes also with standards, weapons, with the armors and attires, ornaments, and having with uh, perseverance and possessed of high birth of good conduct, have all been killed in the battle by Arjuna, who never fatigued with his exertion in the battlefield. And others again having immeasurable strength, desirous of killing their enemies, have met the similar fate. Many other kings, numbering thousands with their followers, have been killed in the battlefield. And then Sanjay says that I will now answer you to what you are asking. Even Like this, the destruction took place when Arjuna and Karna fought. Even Mahendra, even as like, just like Mahendra himself killed Vritra, Rama killed Ravana, even as Krishna killed Naraka or Mura in the battlefield. Even just like Rama Bhrugu's race, that's Parashurama killed heroic Kartavirya in the battlefield, who was invincible in the battlefield. With all his kinsmen, like Parashurama killed him after fighting terrible battle celebrated uh, with that battle which was celebrated through the three worlds, even as Skanda killed Asura Mahisha and Rudra killed Asura Andaka, so as Arjuna in a single combat with all his kinsmen, he killed that foremost of smitters, that is Karna. He killed Karna, who was invincible in the battlefield, and upon whom all Dhritarashtra troops have placed their hope of victory, and who was great cause of hostility with the Pandavas. So that Karna has been killed by Arjuna in the single combat. And Pandu's son has now accomplished that which one time you could not believe him capable of accomplishing, although well-meaning friends of yours failed. They did not fail to apprise you of that those kind of things that Arjuna can do this, but you did not believe those uh, advice of your friends. That calamity, uh, which is now with you see with great of this great destruction, has now come. You wishing them all, you have heaped those evils on the heads of your covetous sons, the fruits of those evil actions now manifesting itself. Like this, Sanjaya says. And then Dhritarashtra, listening to this, he heard the story of, or the count of the people, or the names of the people who have been killed on his side. But he actually asked, tell me also who all survived, who on both sides, dead and survived. So now he again asked Sanjaya, saying that you have mentioned the names of those on my side who have been killed in the battlefield by the Pandavas. Tell me the names among the Pandavas that have been killed by the people from my side. So who killed on Pandava? Who died on the Pandava side? So he asked that question. Sanjay says that the Kuntis, who had a great prowess in the battlefield, they battled with great energy and great might. They have been killed in the battlefield by Bhishma. So again, Kuntis means here the Kunti's father's side, them coming there. So Kunti Bojas, not troops. They have been killed with all their kinsmen and advisors by Bhishma, and the Narayanas, Balabhadras, and the hundreds of other heroes, all devoted to Pandavas, have been killed in the battlefield by Bhishma. Satyajit, who was equal to Arjuna himself in the battlefield, has been killed by Drona uh, in that battlefield. And then many mighty bowmen among the Panchalas, all of whom were skilled in the battlefield, encountering Drona, they all went to Yama's place. And so also the two kings, Virata and Drupada, who are respectable in their years, they were aged, and who exerted themselves with great prowess for their ally Pandavas, have with their sons have been killed by Drona in the battlefield. And that invincible hero, that is Abhimanyu, who even though very child in years, was still equal to Arjuna or Krishna or Baladeva, that is Balarama, in the battlefield. He was a great warrior. He accomplished great thing in the battlefield after making immense slaughter of the enemies, was at last and surrounded by 6 warriors, 6 rathis, and has been killed in the battlefield. And unable to resist Arjuna himself, those 6 warriors, they surrounded Arjuna's son and killed Arjuna's son in that battlefield. Again, deprived of his chariot, that Abhimanyu, son of Subhadra, staying in that battle, remembering his Kshatriya duties, he battled, and at last Dushasana's son killed him in the field. So, and similarly, the slayers of the Padakchatras, that is the son of Ambastas, who was surrounded by large force, has put forth with his prowess for the sake of his allies. And having made great slaughter in that battlefield, he was surrounded, he was encountered by Duryodhana's son, brave Lakshmana. And in that battle, he killed Lakshmana, killed son of Ambastas. And then similarly, mighty bowman Brihanta, who was accomplished in arms and invincible in the battlefield, has been dispatched to Yama's place by Dushasana. And then the two kings, Manimat and Durandara, Dandadara, they both in the battle again putting forth great prowess for their allies, they have been killed by Drona. And then Anshumat, the ruler of Bojas, was a great uh, chariot rider, chariot warrior, and then Rati, and he's at the head of his own forces. He has been dispatched to Yama's place by Drona. And then Chitrasena, the ruler of sea coast, coastal region, with his son, has been dispatched by Samudrasena uh, to Yama's place. And then another ruler of the coastal region, Nila, and Vagradatta of great energy, they've been dispatched by Ashwatthama. Chitrayada, Chitrayodhin, after making great slaughter, they've been killed by Vikarna in the battlefield. And then the chief of Kaikeyas, who was equal to Bhima himself, was surrounded by the Kaikeya warriors and has been killed by the Kaikeya, that is a brother killing a brother. So again, if you look at Kaikeyas, there is brothers, one brother fighting on the Pandava side, another brother fighting on the Kaurava side. It happens that one brother happened to kill the other one. So the Pandava side brother was killed by the brother battling on the Kaurava side. And Janamejaya from the hilly country, who was again great strength, accomplished and great encounters in using the mace as his weapon, was been killed by Durmukha. And the two brothers, Romaro Rochamana brothers, they've been killed by Drona in the battlefield. Many other kings as well, having great strength, fought for the Pandavas, having achieved difficult things, they all gone to Yama's place. Purujit and Kuntiboja, two maternal uncles of Arjuna, they've been sent to Yama's place by Drona. And similarly, Abhibu, the Kashi head with his many followers, they've been sent to Yama's place by Karna. And then Yudamanyu and Uttamauja, after killing hundreds of heroic warriors, they've been killed as well in the battlefield. And the Panchala Prince Mitravarman, uh, and he's been killed as well by Drona. Shikandi's son Kshatradeva, who was again one of the foremost of among the warriors, who was possessed of great bravery, has been killed by Lakshmana, uh, Duryodhana's son Lakshmana, and then the heroic two heroes, Suchitra and Chitravarman, they who were again father and son, Suchitra and Chitravarman, they having a great strength, they fought in that battlefield fearlessly, they've been killed by Drona. Vardakshemi, who was like attacking Kauravas like a ocean with at full tide, and with his weapons exhausted in the battlefield, he at last obtained that undisturbed peace. So that means he died. And then the great among the Sutas, Senabindu, who in that battle was been killed by Balika. Drishtaketu, the Chedi king, was killed, Shishupala's son, Drishtaketu, Chedi king, who was killed in the battlefield as well he was killed in the battlefield. Similarly, Satyadriti, who had a great strength, having made great slaughter in the battlefield for the sake of Pandavas, is then dispatched to Yama's place. And then the king Suketu, son of Shishupala, has been killed, having killed many enemies. At last, he was killed by Drona. And then Virata's son Shanka and also Uttara, having great strength, they also died. Similarly, Satyadriti of Matsyas, Madarashva, who had a great strength, and Suryadatta, having great prowess, they all been killed by Drona in the battlefield. Shrinimat, having again fought with great prowess, accomplishing difficult things, he's been killed as well. And similarly, the chief of Magadhas, the grave, who fought with great energy, who was acquainted with highest of the weapons, he also sleeps in the battlefield, and he was killed by Bhishma. And Vasudhana, having made immense carnage, that is, um, in that battlefield. He's been killed by Drona in the battlefield. So similarly, like this, these and many other Rathis, Maharathis on the Pandava side have been killed by Drona, exciting himself with great energy. So Sanjay says that I told you now everything that you asked me on who has been killed on the Pandava side as well. So Dhritarashtra, listening to this, he says, when all the foremost of the great warriors of my side have perished, I don't think remaining my army uh, will not perish. So that means they will also die. So Dhritarashtra thinks that remaining whoever remains on his side, they will also will die now because the great warriors on my side, Bhishma, Drona, Karna, have been died, have been killed. And when those two heroes, that is the two great bowmen, Kurus, among the Kurus, the Bhishma and Drona have been killed, what can I have with this life anymore? I cannot also take this information of Karna's death in the battlefield, who was equal to 10,000 elephants, and he has such a strength and such a great warrior. Karna's death, I cannot take anymore. I cannot comprehend that. And tell me now, Sanjaya, who are yet to who are yet alive from my army in this battlefield. And after the death of all those heroes, who are all yet alive, tell me all those things. And also, you told me the names that have fallen. It seems to be that whoever is still alive probably is just almost, they are like as dead as well. So even though they are alive, they are probably dead. But tell me still who is yet alive. So, like this, he asks now for the people who are still living. Sanjay responds saying that hero whom Drona, the great Brahmana, always imparted many blazing celestial mighty weapons of all types, and that great Rathi who is possessed of skill and lightness in the hands, he who is the hero, that hero with the firm grip and strong weapons and powerful arrows, that great son of Drona, capable of shooting great distance, still in the field, desires battling your sake. So that means Ashwatthama still lives on. And then the one who lives in the Anartha country, the son of Rudika, the great Rathi, who Maharati, who the foremost among the Shashvatas, the chief of Bhojas, Kritavarman, who is accomplished in the battlefield, in the arms, and he is desiring this battle still there. So two names, Ashwatthama and Kritavarma, and then Arthayana's son, who is dauntless in the battle, the first warrior, that foremost of all yet on your side. He is the one who abandoned his sister's son, the Pandavas, and making his own word true. His great activities promised in the presence of Yudhishthira that he would, in the battlefield, depress the spirit of Karna, that invincible Shalya, who is equal to Indra himself in energy, still in the battlefield, desiring of battling for your sake. And then accomplished by his own force consisting of Ajaneyas, Saindavas, mountaineers, and dwellers of various regions, Kambojas, Vanayus, and things like that. King of Gandharas, that is Shakuni, still battling in the battle there in the Kurukshetra, and then similarly Sharadvata's son called Gautama or Kripa. He is again fighting in the battlefield with diverse kind of weapons. He is still there in the battlefield, desiring victory for Duryodhana. And then the ruler of Kaikeyas, uh, riding on a very great chariot equipped with standard and great horses, stays on the battlefield for your sake. And your son, the great Kuru of your son Purumitra, riding on a chariot, he is still there in the battlefield. Duryodhana also having great energy in the middle of elephant force, accompanied by foremost of the combatants, stays in the battlefield there in the middle of many kings, that Duryodhana there is still there in the battlefield, like a fire without smoke. He is still battling there. And also your son Sushena, Satyasena and Chitrasena, they are still in the battlefield. And then again, the Bharata princess Chitrada, Shritavarman, Jaya, Dala, Satyavrata, Dushala, they all still in the battlefield. And then ruler of Kaitavyas, who is still there in the battlefield. And then similarly, Shrutayu, Shrutayuda, Chitrangada, Chitravarman, they all still in the battlefield, and similarly, Satyasandha, the son of Karna. Satyasandha is son of Karna. He is the one son from Karna. He's still alive and battling in the he's still in the battlefield. And the two other sons of Karna, having great weapons, great lightness in the hand, in their hands, they are still in the battlefield. And similarly, those heroes as well, they all battling for Duryodhana stay along with Duryodhana, they are battling in that battlefield. So like this, Sanjaya says, and Duryodhana is standing there in the middle of the elephant division. Dhritarashtra asked him, "You have told me all that alive, both among us and the enemies. From this, I plainly see on which side the victory will be, and it may be inferred from the facts what you are told." So, having said this, Dhritarashtra, having learned that only a small portion of his army was alive and all the foremost among those warriors have already died, he felt his heart to be exceedingly agitated by grief. And king once more he swoons away, and a little while later he was partially restored in sense and senses, and he addresses Sanjaya saying that wait for a minute. And then king recovering a little while later, he asks, tells Sanjaya that I have heard of this calamity. My heart is greatly agitated. My senses are stupefied. My limbs are about to be paralyzed. And having said this, Dhritarashtra once again loses his senses and he falls down on the earth. And Janamejaya, listening to this from Vaishampayana, he asks, having heard Karna's fall and death of his sons, what did the king say after he's been little comforted? What did he say? And the grief he experienced arising from the calamity that has fallen on his sons. What did he say? I ask you all this. Please tell me in detail. So Vaishampayana continues his narration. He says that hearing the slaughter of Karna, who was invincible and astounding, that was dreadful and capable of paralyzing the senses of all the creatures, and that looked like downfall of the Meru or Meru mountain, or never to be believed clouding of the intellect of the wise Shukra himself, or like the defeat of Indra at the hands of his enemies, or like falling down from on the earth from Surya Mandala itself, or to be it is like drying up the ocean, or like that of annihilation of this entire earth, sky and everything, all the directions, the water, everything, or the fruitless acts of virtuous and sinful. So all these are impossible things. Like this Karna's death as well. Hearing that Karna's death, which was almost impossible to happen, King Dhritarashtra, having reflected for some time on it, thought that his army has already been annihilated. And he thinking that other creatures also, as unslayable as Karna, would meet the similar fate. So he thinks that even though Kritavarman, Kripa, Shalya, Duryodhana, and whoever else left, they also going to die if Karna has been killed. And king thinks that he was scorched with grief and sighing like a snake. With his limbs almost uh, palsied, he taking long breaths. He became highly cheerless and was filled with melancholy, began to lament, saying that oh and alas and things like that. He started crying and with grief filled, he tells Sanjaya that, oh Sanjaya, the heroic son of Adhiratha, Karna, who was endued with great strength, like a lion or that of an elephant. He had such a strength, and his neck was thick as like a of a bull, and his eyes, his gait, his voice were like that of the bulls, and his limbs as hard as the thunderbolt, the Vajra itself, Vajra weapon itself of Indra, and that young man, like a bull, never flying away from a bull in the fight, he never desisted from the battlefield, from the enemy, whether whoever enemy may be, maybe even if it is Indra, he never hesitated. And at the sound of his bowstring, the palms and the whiz of his arrows, the showers on the men, the horses, chariots, the elephants all fled away in the battlefield, seeing the even just the sound of his bowstring and his palms making the sound, releasing the arrows. And relying upon his mighty arm alone, he uh, killed large number of enemies. That warrior again, he because of him, Duryodhana had provoked hostilities with those great sons of Pandu. And then how could then that Karna, who is the greatest among the Rathis, foremost among all the Rathis, he who was irresistible onset, has been forcibly killed in the battlefield by Pandavas. How was he killed in the battlefield? Again, relying upon his own arms, he always disregarded what Krishna said or Arjuna and the Vrishnis and all the other enemies as well. That Karna often used to say that, say to this foolish uh, kingdom coveting of Duryodhana, he always used to say that alone I will in the battle throw those foremost among the chariot riders, those two invincible warriors united together, whether it is the one who wields, releases, holds the Saranga bow, or the one who holds Gandiva. So that's whether it is Krishna or Arjuna, I will alone in the battlefield defeat them, like this Karna used to say. He has defeated invincible great warriors, great enemies like Gandharas, Madrakas, Matsyas, Trigartas, Talangas, Kashas, Panchalas, Videhas, Kulindas, Kashi, Koshalas, Sushmanas, Angas, Nishadas, Pundras, Kichakas, Vasadas, Kalingas, Tarala, Asmaka, Rishikas, and all these many other kingdoms he has defeated. For Duryodhana's sake, he defeated all of them, and subjugate defeating all of them, those brave races, by means of his sharp, whetted arrows. This Karna caused all of them to pay tribute to aggrandizement of Duryodhana, that Duryodhana, when he wanted to perform that Rajasuya sacrifice, Karna defeated all of them. And how could that warrior who was acquainted with celestial weapons, that protector of the armies, Karna, who is also called Vrisha, of great strength, who's been killed in, how could he be killed in the battlefield by the sons of Pandu? And as Indra is among the foremost among all the devatas, Karna is foremost among all the men. In the three worlds, there is no third person who has been heard by us like him. Among the horses, Ucheshrava is the foremost. Among the Yakshas, Vaishravana is the foremost, that is Kubera. And among the Devatas, Indra is the foremost. And among the smitters, the one who battles in the battlefield, Karna was the foremost. Unvanquished in the battlefield, the great kings he had, for Duryodhana's sake, defeated all of them across the whole earth. The ruler of Magadha, having by conciliation and orders obtained Karna for his friend, he has challenged all the Kshatriyas of the world except Kauravas and Yadavas, because that Magadha king Jarasandha was, he obtained Karna as his friend. And hearing Karna has been killed by Arjuna, I am plunged into this ocean of woe, like a wrecked vessel. I'm in the deep, vast ocean. I'm struggling to see the shores from this. So, oh Sanjaya, I do not die from such a grief. My heart is, in, for some reason, it must be something harder than even Vajra weapon. Probably my heart should be harder than the Vajra weapon, because it does not break hearing the death of Karna, and hearing the defeat and humiliation of his relatives and allies. Who else in this world except me would live along, do not yield up life? It must be me. I am such a person. My heart does not break like this. King laments and he cries, and he still asks for details of how Karna was killed in that battlefield, and we'll continue that next time.